besties, this is Sikhumbuzo on That's My Chats. And today we're back with another episode. And besties, you know that our conversations just keep getting better and better. So I hope we have a great time having this conversation because I think that it's going to be really relatable with you, bestie, and maybe what you're going through, especially if you're transitioning from, if you're going through transitions or even now, because it's like almost the middle of the year, and you're sitting there and you feel like, these are things that we don't say out loud. They're things that we keep to ourselves, that, we try and keep quiet. And I feel like there are things that we're always constantly thinking about, but we've just collectively agreed not to say it out loud. So not because they're not true, but because they're uncomfortable to speak about. These emotions are uncomfortable to say. It also has to do with just this fear of that people have collectively agreed not to say a certain thing. So why would you say it? Why would you make other people feel uncomfortable? Why would you make yourself feel uncomfortable? And today I'm going to be talking about these things that we don't say out loud. And so if you feel exposed, bestie, just know that I'm exposing myself today as well. So we're on the same page, don't worry. I'm going to be exposing myself as well. We're going to be exposing each other. And so like sometimes the emotions or these things that are in your head, like sometimes I compare myself and feel like I'm losing it. I'm losing it at life. It feels like everyone is advancing and ahead of me while I'm a bit behind. Sometimes I act like I'm fine just so that nobody could ask me, are you okay? Is everything okay? Or if you're like really going through it at school and then people are like really coming to you and they are like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And you just don't want to talk about it. You cut it off and you're like, I'm fine, I'm okay. Because you don't even know what to say in that moment. You don't even know the emotion that you're feeling in that moment. And so sometimes you don't say those emotions that you're going through out loud. And so I think we're going to look at the I'm fine culture and look at how it's literally just fueled this emotional avoidance in our society and in our generation. So this the word I'm fine has basically become a personality trait. I remember listening to the radio and the presenter had started this topic about when people ask you how you really are, like when you have a conversation, you're like, hi, how are you? And when people ask you, how are you? Most of the time people find themselves saying, I'm fine, thanks, and you. But do you really tell people how you really are? Do you tell them how you really feel? And I remember people, giving feedback about, what they, how they've experienced this conversation of, hi, how are you? And oftentimes it felt like people were just asking you how you are just so that they could get to the point where they can ask you what they need. And so often people felt like they didn't need to say how they really are because people aren't really wanting to know how they really are. And sometimes that's what the idea society has placed in our head. And so sometimes sometimes we don't say, hey, yeah, I'm actually not okay right now. I'm actually not fine. I'm going through it. Sometimes we just ended with I'm fine. And sometimes that's honestly just because you don't even know the emotion that you're experiencing in that moment, right? So this emotional avoidance has just been growing in our generation as well, mostly in our generation, where we laugh things off, we change the subject. If it's something really, really deep, we say we're deeping it, and then we laugh it off, and we change the subject. It's like it never happened, but there's always that little pain that's in your heart, and you know that I should have spoken about it. I should have said that I don't feel good. I should have said, I feel really uncomfortable in this moment and I really need someone to talk to. I should have said something, but because it feels like I'm deeping it, I'm going to keep quiet. I'm going to laugh it off. I'm going to change the subject. Or you turn everything into humor. And there's this term called dark humor in our generation, right? And it's where you've experienced something that was really, really difficult. It could be the passing of someone really close to you. It could be something that you feel really uncomfortable talking about, and you change it into humor, you change it into jokes, because you don't want to deep it, right? You don't want to make it more than it seems, right? Deeping it means, sorry, I didn't explain that, but deeping it means you're making something seem more than it really is. And so because you don't want to deep it, you don't want to make it more than it really seems, you make it a joke. You laugh about it. You change the subject. Someone might have said something really, really mean to you. Your friend might have made fun of you in front of everyone. But because you don't want to deep it. You don't want to make it more than it really is. You joke about it. You're like, no, they were joking. That insult really didn't hurt me. But when you get home, it feels really, really painful. You need someone to talk to, and you feel like I should have asked someone to talk to about what I really went through and how this insult actually really hurt me. And it's not that, I don't think it's because we're fake and we're just trying to constantly, have different personas. I don't think it's because we're fake, but we're tired of being vulnerable in spaces that don't feel safe. And what I mean by that is that most teenagers or most people our age, they feel like there's no need for them to feel vulnerable in places where they don't feel safe. They feel like when they talk to someone, the minute they say something, instantly that whole conversation is going to go to someone else. And that conversation is going to go to another person. And now instantly someone already knows about what you're going through. Trust me, bestie, I've been through that as well. I remember one time and this actually is the root of my fear of talking about what I'm really feeling had begun. I think I was in grade 4, if I'm correct, and something really big had happened in my household, in my family, and it was really, really a really painful experience. And I remember talking to this one girl in my friendship group, and I felt like I could really trust her and I could really talk to her. And I remember telling her in detail, from the beginning of my problem to the end of my problem. I told her every single thing. And I remember going to my friend group in the second break, right? Because our school had 2 breaks. Going to my friend group in the second break, and every single person in my friend group knew about what I was going through. Every single person. And honestly, it felt in this moment, I'm actually laughing about it. But at that moment, it felt so painful that the one person I trusted, it felt like they had betrayed me, right? She had gone, and I had asked her not to tell anyone because there was a really sensitive topic to myself. I hadn't even sorted out the emotions that I was feeling in that moment. And so that's where the roots of my fear of telling people how I was really feeling and the emotions I was really going through. That's where that fear started. And for the rest of my high school career or my schooling career, I'd really refrained from telling people about what I was really feeling, right? The things that I didn't tell people, right? And you talk about, your private thoughts with people, it feels very uncomfortable. When you talk about what you're really struggling with, what you feel uncomfortable about talking about, it really feels weird, right? It feels awkward to talk about those things, to talk about those thoughts that you have at 2 a.m. where you feel like, oh, so-and-so is living such a good life, mine is not so great. Or so-and-so has moved ahead. The so-and-so has, accomplished so many things, and I feel like I'm so behind. I feel like I'm way back by the starting line, and so is by the finish line. And those thoughts that you have at 2 a.m. when it's quiet, when there's no distraction, that's when everything gets loud. And these conversations that you're having with yourself, this voice, the negative voice starts rolling. And the more you keep I remember listening to a friend of mine before I talk about this. I remember listening to a friend of mine. She was talking about how she was really feeling, and she was talking to me about what she was really going through. And she said, these emotions that I've been keeping inside, it feels like I've been stacking books. So she explained it as stacking books. And each emotion that I've been like really harboring in my heart, it feels like I'm just stacking books. And at one point it felt like I'd stacked the biggest dictionary on earth on top of these small tiny books. And everything came tumbling down, and I burst. I burst. Because I'd been holding everything inside. I'd been holding my emotions. I'd been holding my sadness, my frustration, my anger. I'd been holding it all inside. I hadn't been speaking to anyone. I hadn't been telling anyone anything. And it just piled up, and it all came crashing down. And that's what it is. I think those emotions that we harbor inside our hearts, those feelings, those thoughts of constantly wanting to compare yourself with other people or constantly feeling left behind, those things that we feel so uncomfortable talking about, the more we keep them inside, the more it just feels like it's just piling books. one on top of each other, right? And so you can list a few of those thoughts that you have at night, where it's like, am I actually becoming who I thought I would be? It becomes even worse when you like step into university, or you step into your final year of high school. You're like, am I actually becoming who I want to be? Or when you're choosing subjects in grade 10, am I actually becoming who I want to be? If you're going to a new school in grade 8, am I actually becoming who I want to be? That nagging voice at the back of your head is like, is this who you wanted to be? Is this the school you wanted to go to? Are these the subjects that you wanted to take? Is this how your grade 12 marks should be? Is this the course, your degree? Is this the degree you want to take? Is this the degree you want to do? And it's that nagging voice that keeps on telling you that maybe you're not walking the right path. Maybe you're not following the right journey. Or why do I feel so disconnected? Disconnected to people. Disconnected to the situations or the environment around me. Why do I feel so disconnected? Or why do I feel alone even when I'm around people? And that's the one that I really struggled with, where I felt like I was alone, very lonely around people. And it's this disconnection to people around me because of the emotions that I've been piling up over and over again. And the scary part is that nobody checks on that version of you, because you're not talking about it. And most of the time when you're sitting alone at night, you're like, Lord, but nobody hears me. Nobody's saying anything, right? We find ourselves saying that to God. Nobody comes to check on me. Nobody wants to know what I'm really going through. But you find yourself realizing that, hey, but I'm not telling anyone that what I'm going through. I'm not explaining, hey, I need someone to talk to. I need my mother. I need to talk to my mother. I need to talk to my father. I need to talk to someone I trust, that this is what I'm going through, right? And there's this voice in your head, the one overthinking, the one questioning everything quietly. The line will land emotionally, right? So literally that line, that one voice in your head, that line of constantly telling you that you're not good enough, you need to compare yourself to so and so. They're living their best life. They just went on holiday to Mauritius, to Dubai. They're having a good time, but you're behind. You don't know who you are. Your emotions, they don't really matter to people. That voice that constantly tells you to be emotional and just to keep all those emotions inside, that's the voice that's so loud at that time. And so I think that when you find yourself, scrolling on, these social media apps, and you're watching people be productive and glowing and booked and busy and living their best life, healed, thriving, hashtag living my best life, or hashtag I'm feeling really productive today, those type of things, and you're just there, and you're sitting there in your bed, and you're like, but I'm not like that. I'm not, right now running 30 kilometers. I'm not doing that. I'm not writing a thesis. And then that comparison starts, and you just keep bottling up that emotion of comparison that, hey, I'm not good enough. I'm not like so and so. I'm not perfect. I'm not doing the right thing at the right time. And that comparison keeps bottling up, and you're not talking about it, right? You're not saying anything. You're just keeping it inside. You even start questioning your own life, like, wait, am I doing something wrong? Like, did I not get the memo? Am I just confused? Like, what's going on? What's going on? And it's not, I don't think it's jealousy. It's more of that quiet feeling of being behind or not good enough. And even when nobody said you were, nobody said that. Nobody said you're not good enough. Nobody said that you're behind. But because of that constant voice that's reminding you that you're not good enough and that you're behind, you just feel these emotions rise within you. And it just feels like too much to handle in that moment, and then we try and keep it inside. When things become too much to handle, they can't be kept. They can't be kept in your heart. In fact, at one point, it will even feel draining, exhausting, not to tell anyone what you're going through, right? And I think sometimes, especially as a young Christian, we feel like we're not allowed to admit the things we're going through. We feel like we're going to be judged. That maybe I was scrolling on social media and I saw so-and-so post a video or a picture of themselves on the beach, and I felt really left out, and I felt like I was really behind, and I felt like their life was way better than mine. And as a young Christian, you find yourself like you can't really admit that I'm comparing myself to someone, or you can't really admit that I'm feeling really sad in this moment because you fear being judged, and then you fear rejection. Like you feel like you always have to be okay. You always have to represent the positive side of Christianity. And I just want to say that for me, Christianity to me is my relationship with Christ. And I think that's something that we need to constantly, remind ourselves of. You don't need to constantly and always be okay. You don't need to always be happy and smiling and feel like you need to represent constantly represent the positive side of Christianity, the side that entices people to join Christianity. You don't constantly have to represent that. You are human. You're gonna go through situations where you feel like I can't do this anymore. This baggage is too hard for me to handle. I need someone to help me. And that's okay. To ask for help is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of not being smart enough or not being emotionally intelligent. It's not a sign of that. To ask for help is being human. It's being, okay, I can't do this. I really can't. I can't do this by myself. I need someone to help me, right? And so, you don't always have to be positive. You don't always have to be okay if you're not. Sometimes it might feel like, oh, I'm doing this Christian faith thing wrong, and it's not that. Like I said, it's you being human. It's okay to go to God and say, God, I don't know what to do right now. I feel like I'm at a wall. I don't know where to go. I remember in my matric year, I was really, really stressed with regards to just I really wanted to do well, wanted to get into my dream university, wanted to get into my dream course. And it just felt like so many things were just piling. It was piling at this point. This fear of what if I don't do well? This fear of, what if I don't get into the university I want to get into? And it really got to this point where it felt like it was piling up, and then it felt like I'd hit a dead end. And it's okay to say, God, hey, I feel like I've hit a dead end. I feel like I can't move forward. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to look. It feels like it feels like I don't have eyes to see. Open my eyes, Lord, and help me see, right? In those moments, it's okay to do that. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask someone you trust, maybe your mother, your father, your friend, or even a trusted teacher, anyone that you feel like you really can trust. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, hey, I'm really not feeling good right now. Because what I want to remind you is that if you look at people in the Bible, there were moments where they felt confused. They felt frustration. They even felt silence. I'm reminded of David, right, and his story and his journey. There were moments where he felt frustrated, confused, and where he felt there was just silence from God. At times he would say, God, hear me, hear my cry. Do not turn your face away from me. There were times when he said, God, please show yourself to me. And God didn't just reject him for that. God didn't reject him for asking for help. God didn't reject him because he felt confused or frustrated, because God is not looking for the perfect version of you, the version where you don't have any emotions, you're perfectly fine, life is cruising. God's not looking for that perfect version of you, because he already sees the unfiltered version. He sees that version where you're breaking down silently in your room because you don't want to let your family know that you're really struggling emotionally or mentally or even physically. He sees those moments, and he sees that unfiltered version of you. So there's no need to hide it. There's no need to fake that you're okay with God. There's no need to pretend like you're living your best life with God, because God can see who you really are. And so sometimes it's not even that we don't want to talk about what we're going through. It's that we don't know how to explain what we're going through or how we're feeling. And that's something that really builds up this emotional avoidance to you don't want to dissect how you're really feeling. You don't want to say, hey, I'm feeling really sad right now. I feel like I'm really going through a lot, because at some point you don't really know what you're going through. You don't really know how you're feeling. And sometimes we feel like we're so scared that if we say it out loud, if we say our emotion or our fear or our sadness out loud, it becomes a reality. I remember a friend of mine, someone close to her had passed away, and I remember her not saying anything the whole time for a very long time, and she came to me a few months after that, right? Because she hadn't been speaking at all. She was really silent, and I knew that she was really struggling with something deep inside. And I remember praying for her all the time and saying, Lord, please help her to, speak about what she's going through and help her to really find peace. And I remember her coming to me a few months later, and she said, I didn't want to talk about what I was going through. I didn't want to talk about the pain that I was feeling, because I didn't want it to become a reality that this person that I was really close to passed away. And those are the things that stop you from really speaking about what you're going through. The fear of not knowing, or not in general, just not knowing what your emotion, what the emotion is that you're feeling. Or even just this, just not wanting to say how you're feeling so that it doesn't become a reality. And this part can, it can be part of your life where you feel like I'm falling behind. Everyone's, succeeding, everyone's doing way better than me. I'm comparing myself to other people, but you don't say how you're really feeling. You don't say that, hey, I'm comparing myself to other people. This is what I'm going through, because you don't want it to become a reality. You don't really want to feel like you're being left behind, right? And so you keep it all bottled up inside, and it just feels like, it reminds me of just, something like when you fill up a bowl. Yeah, when you fill up a bowl, right, made of porcelain, and you add so much water, maybe it's closed tight, the bowl is closed tight, and you add so much water, and you see the porcelain maybe start to crack at the pressure of the water. And that's just you're cracking at the pressure of keeping everything inside, and at some points that porcelain breaks. It breaks because of that pressure, and all that you've been holding in just pushes out, and that's a point where you topple over. So besties, I think if you're listening right now, I want you to think of one thing you've been avoiding to admit to even yourself, that hey, I think I really need someone to talk to, or hey, I think I've been feeling really sad for a very long time now. It's been months where I feel like I don't want to get up from bed. I feel like I have no purpose in life, right? I want you to be able to admit that firstly to yourself. And then when you find yourself in situations like that, I want you to find someone you can trust. It's really hard. I know it's really hard, besties. I mean, I struggled to find someone I can really trust. But once you've found that person, you let them know. You say, I think I'm really struggling with this and this and this. I'm struggling to understand my emotions right now, but I can tell you that I've been feeling sad for over 5 months. I've been feeling really demotivated for this long. It's important to talk about what you're going through. Firstly, to find help, right? And then secondly, to really just let it loose. Once I remember talking to my mother the whole day at school. It was a really tough day on that day. Basically, let me tell you, that day was really, really difficult. It felt like there were so many things I hadn't done. There were deadlines. People weren't, when there are a lot of deadlines at school, people aren't really, really nice to each other. We all on the edge, right? There were so many deadlines. It felt like there was so much, and everything was piling up. And the whole day, I had just been holding in my sadness. I'd been holding in my anger. And I remember going to my mom, and I just told her everything from 7:30 in the morning, what had happened at 7:30 in the morning, until 3-4 o'clock when I came back to her. And I just told her everything that I'd been going through. And I remember her and I praying, and after we prayed about my day, I remember feeling so light and so free and so much better than what I'd been feeling throughout the rest of the day. So it's important to firstly admit what you had been avoiding to yourself, and then find someone who you trust to talk to. You don't have to post it to the whole world now. No, you don't have to post it on your story and say, "Hey guys, I've been feeling sad for 6 months. Jeez, no, you don't have to do that. What you can do though is you don't have to keep it inside, but you don't need to post it and tell the whole world. It's important to find someone you trust, and then it's important to talk to God. And I think that's one thing that I'm really big on, is talking to God about your day. Every day when I come back home, I go to my room, I sit there for about 15 minutes, literally narrating my whole day to God, telling him about what I went through, what made me feel sad, what made me feel happy, literally talking about your day like you would tell your parents, and just letting him know about what you went through and what might have really triggered the sadness for you. And it's important to do that because it builds this really strong relationship with God, and it even helps you not to hold anything inside, not to hold any emotions, because you've just told God what you're going through, right? But at least I want you, bestie, to be honest with yourself. I want you to be honest with yourself first. That's what my mom always tells me. When I used to bottle up my emotions, you could see it. You could see it on my face. I have a very open face. Like, you can tell when I'm mad or sad or happy. And my mom would say, hey, I can see you're not okay. Is there anything wrong? And then she would always tell me, be honest to yourself first. Before you tell me there's nothing wrong, be honest to yourself first. And when you're ready, be honest to God. And when you're ready to tell me, you can tell me what you went through. You can be honest to me. So that whole process, be honest to yourself, be honest to God, and then be honest to the person that you trust, right? And so you're allowed to be a work in progress, bestie. We all are. We're all going through it. We're all struggling. At some point, we all feel like we're really irritated, and it feels like there's ants running all over your skin. In that moment, we're all human, right? We're all going through that progress, and you're allowed to not have everything figured out. You're allowed to have everything not figured out, because you're not perfect, and God's not looking for that perfect version of you. He's looking for that unfiltered version. I remember a verse that my sister particularly enjoys this verse. God calls the unqualified, and it was really interesting because, what do you mean he calls the unqualified? What do you mean by that? And I think it really just shows that God's not looking for the most perfect person on earth. He's looking for you who feels like you're not good enough. You who feels like you're not perfect, right? I might have paraphrased that verse. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might have paraphrased that verse, changed it a little bit. But the whole idea of it was that God looks for the unfiltered version of you, the non-perfect version of you, because he has something so great in store for that unfiltered version of you. He has something so great, amazing stored for this unperfect Sikhumbuzo. Right? And so you're allowed to be a work in progress. You're allowed to not have everything figured out. And if you're still held, even in the confusion, even in the silence, if you still feel like you're being held back, come back to God. Come back to, my mom likes to say this, she says, come back to the drawing board. Come back to what you plan to do. Come back and say, God, I don't know what's going on right now. I feel like I can't talk about what I'm going through. I feel like I don't understand my emotions right now. I feel very confused. And then I even feel held back. But maybe the things we don't say out loud are the things we need to be most honest about. And I think I want to close with that, because I think that's such a beautiful thing to close with. That maybe the things we don't say out loud are the things we need to be most honest about. That fear, or that little voice that you have in your head, right? That little voice that you have in your head that's telling you to keep it all inside. Maybe those things that we're not saying, those things that we're not talking about, are the very things that we need to say. I remember my mom saying that what you go through, because I've been going through a really rough patch in my senior year of high school. And I remember my mom saying that what you're going through right now is going to be a testimony, right, for other people to hear. And that's going to change someone's life for the better. So what you're going through now, instead of not saying it out loud and keeping it inside, that could change someone's life. What your journey and the hardships of your journey, that could change someone's life. So maybe it's something that we need to be honest about, to be truthful about. Besties, I think this was a very deep conversation, but it was also a conversation that we had to have. It's a conversation that all of us need to have together. And so basically, I want you to go home, or if you're listening right now at home, I want you to really think about the things that you're not admitting. The little voice in your head that's telling you to not say anything. I want you to counteract that voice, right? I want you to really talk to God about, hey, I think I've been really feeling really sad these past few days. Or I think I really feel like I'm being overlooked at school. Or I feel like I'm really feeling bullied at school. Lord, what do you want me to do, right? And then, after being honest to yourself, after being honest to God, then you be honest to even a trusted adult would be perfect, to find a really trusted adult to say, hey, I think I'm being bullied. I feel really uncomfortable talking about this, but I feel like I'm being, hated on by kids in my school. And it's so important to just be honest about what you're going through, because that's when once you find honesty, you find freedom. You feel like you're breaking free. So besties, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. It was a really serious conversation, one that needed to be held, because it's so beautiful to be honest about what you're going through. Thank you so much, besties, for watching this video, and I hope you really, really enjoyed it. Besties, I am here for you. God is here for you, and He loves you so, so very much. He's not looking for the perfect version of you. He's looking for that unfiltered version of you, bestie, and He loves that unfiltered version, because you are fearfully and you are wonderfully made. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!